Let me tell you something, folks. Everybody's got a price for Ted DiBiase.
If I've said this once, I've said it a million times. Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
He's got money. He's got fame. Everybody's got a price for Ted DiBiase.
I've had everything that most people think will make them happy. I know what it's like to travel around the world in first class, to ride in limousines and Learjets, to stay at first-class hotels, to have my likeness made into action figures, to be on television and be famous. They say that the love of money is the root of all evil. Hogwash! With enough of this, you can buy anything. I can buy stuff, cars, houses.
Problem with the people in the entertainment industry and just in that world is they've got everything the world can offer. You got money, you got power, fame, you got stuff.
I can buy love. I can buy a good time. But you remember this most of all. I can even buy you.
Everybody's got a price for Ted DiBiase.
And like so many others, I began to fill that void out there on the road, away from my family. And I would go to the bar with the guys, and I didn't want to go to that empty hotel room. What was God in my life was me. And on that day, as I looked into the mirror, I saw a man who had been blessed with so much. Blessed in his career, blessed by a wonderful wife, blessed with children. I was looking at a man who had been willing to put at risk the future. And for what? To stroke his ego.
Ted DiBiase, making the most of his money, using it to his advantage.
Every one of you remember one thing. Everybody has a price for the $1 Million Man. Right now, you got everything you thought you ever wanted. You're famous. You got money. Nice house, big car. But what do you really have, son? My friends, you know what the answer is? Nothing. Nothing! 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 By the grace of God, every day I try to be a man of strong character and integrity, a man of God, a loving husband and a caring father. And like that old character, the $1 Million Man, always says,
Everybody's got a price. Everybody's got a price.
everybody has a price. The price of fame is high.
I definitely had an interesting childhood, to say the least. I mean, growing up the son of a wrestler, I found myself running around the locker room with guys like Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, The Ultimate Warrior, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I mean, these guys were larger than life. They were superheroes. My house on Saturday mornings was a very popular place to be. My friends would come over and we'd back the couches back, climbing up on the side table, dropping elbows off the top like Macho Man Randy Savage, and quite often breaking a lamp or two. It was cool watching him on TV. But that was the only place I got to see my dad, because he was with you 300 days out of the year. When I was with him, everyone wanted to meet him because he was the $1 Million Man. And me, I wanted to be just like him.
I followed in his footsteps. I became a third-generation superstar for the WWE, and I traveled all over the world. I main evented pay-per-views and wrestled in WrestleMania. I even starred in a movie.
With or without you, I'm going in.
Oscar worthy, if you ask me, but nobody did. But even when everyone told me that I could never achieve these dreams, I chose to follow my dreams anyway.
All right. Yep. Well, I'll see you in Wilcox in several hours. Me too, man. Love you. Bye.
And I would soon find out, as John Maxwell says, the dream is freedom.
Love you, buddy.
But the journey is not.
One of the questions I'm often asked, having been a professional wrestler for almost 20 years, is why? Of all the things I could have chosen to do in life, why did I choose such an odd occupation? The answer to the question, in a word, is Dad. I was very fortunate to have been raised by a very loving stepfather. My biological parents divorced when I was 2 years old. And when I was 5 years old, Mike DiBiase came into my life. I had a dad that was worth admiring. I had a very good role model. I was one of those kids who said, I want to be just like my dad.
Mike DiBiase was a very, very tough guy all through his period in wrestling.
Iron Mike DiBiase was very well respected within the business by his peers because he was a legit athlete. He was a nice man. He was a multi-sport letterman at the University of Nebraska, which is a major Division I university. So he had a great pedigree, really a stellar reputation, and no one ever said any bad things about Mike DiBiase.
He was a great one. He was great to me. He always had time for me, you know. He would pick me up and we'd ride to towns together, and I'd say, Mike, how much money do I owe you? And he'd say, Terry, you don't owe me nothing. Always had great advice for me too. Keep your nose clean. And you've got a wife at home, and you take care of her and you take care of your family first. That's the kind of guy he was.
All I knew when I was 5 is that this man showed me his love, and I loved him. It's great that you were able to come on this trip with me, Teddy. You know, I've talked to you boys about where I grew up, and where I lived, and everything most of my life, but you know, you never seen it.
Yeah.
But you know, I want my kids to, you know,
Where it all started.
where it all started. We're gonna drive by the high school. I used to run these bleachers,
The old stomping grounds.
the old stomping ground.
So that's where you won your
That's where I earned a scholarship.
to West Texas State.
Yep.
This is the house you grew up in.
This is the house I grew up in.
Should we go knock on the door? I guess it feels pretty good coming back to a place like this. You know, it means even more now. I hold you on a pedestal, but now seeing this firsthand, it's like, wow. You know, I don't know that I would have had what it took to get out of here.
For all the fond memories that I have here, you know, what was I going to do here? I mean, you know, my dream was to be like my dad. My dream was to be like my hero, and my hero had been a national amateur wrestling champion and could have been a pro football player. And you know, as you look around this town, you can see how I felt. Can this happen here? Is it possible for me to make it here?
It's actually just really cool hearing the stories for the past 30 years, and now actually it's
Seeing
like
the
putting a
stuff.
face with a name.
I'm gonna go on out to the cemetery, which is pretty close.
Came a long way. A long way.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In the summer of 1969, the same month, by the way, just about 2 weeks later, that we put a man on the moon for the first time. On July the 2nd, 1969, my dad had a heart attack in the ring during a match, and he died. And my whole life changed that day.
Iron Mike DiBiase's in-ring death was kind of, and maybe coldly so, categorized in the list of wrestler deaths that happened in the ring. He was such a big star in that era.
The minute you hear a crowd go completely dead silent, you know something drastic has happened in the ring.
He went in for a pin on a press, and Man Mountain Mike threw him back and out, and he went between the second and the top rope and never touched a thing and hit on the floor. Harley tried to resuscitate him.
The heart thing, just different things and, trying to bring back not only a good friend, but a great person. But just wasn't meant to be.
My father asked me to go down there and substitute for that match. And I said, I'm not going to do it, Dad. I've been on the road all week. Well, Mike had been on the road too, and I just totally refused to do it. And he called Mike up. Mike said, sure. And I always felt a little bit nobody knew what was going to happen, but I always felt like I should have possibly made that trip, and life would have been different for everybody concerned.
We had lunch together as a family. It's the last time we ever ate together. He took a nap, and then his ride came to pick him up. He got his bag, and he kissed us all and said, I'll see you tonight. And as he drove away, it was the last time that I ever saw him alive. I was just hanging around on the steps, and two people showed up. And I go and I tell my mother to get up. What's going on? I can tell you've been crying. And she backed me up against a wall, almost like to brace me. And she said, Teddy, just tears rolling down her face. She said, we came here tonight to get your mom to take her to Lubbock because your dad had a heart attack in the ring during his match, and we were going to take her to him. But I just found out that he died. And, it took the wind right out of my sails. Just like, I just felt everything go. I'm 15 years old, and I've got to tell my little brother that he's never going to see his dad again. And even now, that was hard. Why did this have to happen now? Why now? Why him?
Teddy was only 15 years of age when his dad passed away, and it really shattered the family.
Many, many nights I would drive my grandmother's old Rambler out to the desert cemetery where my father's buried. And I'd park the car and I'd put the lights on my father's grave. And I'd go out there and I would pace back and forth in front of that grave, man. But on the tough nights, this is where I'd come.
Now I'm 30 and I'm a father of my own. I remember at times being like, oh yeah, I've heard the story. You coming out and spending these nights with your dad, but it really, and I would always picture, what it looked like, or I had an idea in my head, and because of your commitment and your success, I wanted to follow in those footsteps. I understand now.
I had heard a lot about Ted DiBiase prior to meeting him. Second-generation wrestler. The guy had a talent like you wouldn't believe. Plus, he was a hit right off the bat.
Ted DiBiase may be one of the greatest technical wrestlers in the sport, but he can't fight a lick. And when you're in the ring with Hacksaw Duggan, DiBiase, it's going to be a fight.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mid-South Coliseum.
Everybody I knew said, kid, you only got 1 year of college left, go back. But you don't understand, I was in love with wrestling since I was old enough to know what it was.
I always wanted him to be a wrestler. But what you have to do is you have to get an education.
The DiBiase name, thanks to his father, opened a lot of doors to provide him the opportunity. Now, those doors have been slammed shut in his face if he had not respected his elders and followed the advice of guys that were trying to make him better, because they saw that he had great potential. Teddy was really a natural as far as getting the mental aspect of performing and being athletic.
I've been ranked in the top 5 wrestlers in the world for as long and as far back as I can remember.
He had the talent, he could connect with an audience, He could get that audience engaged in your story so that they will either love you or hate you.
Ted's a great mechanic in the ring. You ask him to do something, he can get it done.
Teddy is a wrestler's wrestler. He's, first of all, he's a hell of a man, right across the board. You can only tell that if you know somebody like 30 years.
Going back in the history of the professional wrestling business, you had the United States of America. And in the United States of America, you had several different territories or booking offices all throughout the country.
You start out in a territory as a young guy, nobody knows you, and you're on the opening match all the time, and you pay your dues. You know, you get beat every night, but you're in front of a live crowd. You're learning your trade, and you're developing your own character.
Ted was through being trained, and the Funks felt like he was ready to leave the nest. They called Bill Watts, who they were friends with, and Bill booked Ted in the Mid-South territory.
Mid-South was a huge territory.
They were based in Oklahoma,
Arkansas,
Mississippi, Louisiana,
parts of East Texas.
People would call you and say, how you guys doing over there in Mid-South? And you say, oh man, I'm doing $2,500 a week. And you go, wow, that's great money. No, 2,500 miles. You drove every day. You drove a lot of miles over there, sometimes 3,000 miles in a week. The good thing about Mid-South was you learned, and you learned quick.
Just to make sure that this is what he sincerely wanted to do, and if it was to follow it kind of in his father's footsteps, he wouldn't have a problem if he could accomplish that.
Ted was a top star wherever he went.
That Ted is easily in the top 5 of all-time villains.
Ted DiBiase is the upper 0.5% of the world in the business of professional wrestling. You know, he's one of 8, 10 maybe guys out of the billions of people and the millions that come to wrestling, and for him to have that, he's in the top 0.5 in the world. You know how hard that is.
In fact, he did great in the Oklahoma area, and he continued in that area until he got his chance to go to New York.
This was the lot where everybody gathered on the weekends. As soon as I got what I kept asking God for, give me the strength, give me the talent, I get the scholarship, you know, and an old buddy goes, hey, you know, you don't drink, but hey, you just got a scholarship to put you through school. You know, you need to celebrate a little bit. Let's have a couple glasses of wine.
I know where a couple goes.
Yeah. The sad thing is I did such a great job of avoiding it for all those years.
It's funny how we both have a lot of similarities in our stories. You know, it's like when I went to WWE and signed that contract, and I'm the hot commodity and the, you know, the next thing coming up, and, you know, you weren't there. I didn't have my accountability group down there, and I was in this lot, but it was in Tampa, Florida, you know, but it was this lot. That was the temptation, and that's where I fell into, you know, drinking heavily and made the decision to drive one night after that, and almost, I could have cost somebody their life, you know, and God saved me from that, and I paid for it, and you know, Lord knows I've learned a valuable lesson there.
The first person that you got to speak to was your mother.
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
And I said, what did he say? And she said, I couldn't understand him, he was crying so hard. And I said, that's all I need to know. Because that said everything.
It was disappointing to you guys.
Yeah.
That hurt the most.
My temptation here in high school was this lot, this gathering place for all the parties, and your lot was Tampa, Florida. By the time I was 26 years old, I had failed in my first marriage. That's right, at the ripe old age of 20, I got married the first time. My first son, Michael, was born on September the 10th, 1977. And I was failing miserably as a father as well. Oh, I love my son. I couldn't be with him except on weekends and special occasions, and I couldn't even do that because as a wrestler, I traveled so much I was gone most of the time. I had no business getting married. Sad to say, there was no male role model. There was no dad there now to caution me, to tell me, hey, look, pal. He was gone. As I started to climb the ladder in wrestling, I believe God blessed me in spite of me by crossing my path with this wonderful Christian woman, Melanie.
The first time that I saw Ted, I was at a swimming pool
So I'm at the pool one day.
in Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm going to wrestle at the Omni that night.
Things come to those that are patient and wait. Well, I've waited patiently for 5 weeks recovering from this injury. Nobody's going to take my career away from me. It's going to be one night at a time.
He lived in the apartments where I had some friends
And this group of people come in, and there's this one girl that just strikes me.
because I was oblivious to wrestling, the world of wrestling at the time.
She was obviously, seemed to be with a guy, and of course, I don't know, is it a boyfriend, is it a date, whatever.
He came back to the pool, he says, to look for his watch, which was on his arm.
I'm talking to myself out loud. I said, Ted, this is the most childish thing you've ever done. And I parked the car and I get out and I'm walking around this pool and I'm looking around like maybe I left something, like I forgot something and I'm searching for it. All I'm doing is trying to get another look at this gal.
3 of the guys I think that I was with got together and schemed and said, well, we'll go tell him that girl over there wants his autograph. Well, that girl over there was me.
There's a girl over here that wants your autograph.
I thought he was a Falcon football player.
She had a white visor hat on and she took it off and she handed it to me to sign. Well, it was all wet.
Signed my visor. Well, it was wet.
I said, I'm sure over there in the office, they've got some office stationery and I'd be happy to do that.
He slyly moved me away from the group.
And so I write on this piece of paper, to the best looking girl at the pool, for sure.
That was how we met.
I said, I'm even going to sign this love. And I signed it love, Ted DiBiase, 4/26/81. That's the day we met.
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
New Year's Eve, 1981, we got married.
It's definitely good versus evil, and there's nothing like it in the world.
Number 1, it went mainstream, very much so.
My second time and I'm hooked.
Part showbiz and part circus, but it's called professional wrestling, and millions of Americans are obsessed with it.
1980, I'd say 83, 84, things started to change in the WWF. He started bringing in some new people from all the different territories, and it just took off.
Many got turned on first by turning the television on. Wrestling is on TV more now than ever.
Wrestling all over the world had started to get a cult following that the MTV really kicked in, and so it was ready to be tapped as an oil well.
In the mid-'80s, it kind of ballooned.
It was just bigger, louder, brighter, faster.
McMahon made connections with NBC, with Dick Ebersol. Wrestling went back on network television, and it reintroduced the genre to the national audience.
The print media has also recognized wrestling's popularity, from the front page of the Daily News to the cover of Sports Illustrated, a usually serious magazine.
It was insane. We were going to major cities every night. It was sold out. Everything was sold out. It didn't matter where you went, it was sold out.
310 days on the road. Was at home maybe 3 weeks out of the entire year, if you take the travel out too, and it was grueling.
I mean, it exploded where people were coming off the woodworks, coming to the matches, man. We were running like 3 towns a night, and they were all selling out.
I mean, there was, drugs, booze, broads, whatever town you went to. I mean, miss the old days.
Pro wrestling might be at its peak in popularity and could fade, but for now, it's an American-made success story.
But it was shortly thereafter that Ted and Virgil arrived, and they took this organization by storm. They really did.
For all you people out there who aren't familiar with me, let me introduce myself. I'm Ted DiBiase. I'm the $1 Million Man.
DiBiase made his WWF debut in 1987, bringing with him a seemingly endless supply of cash and a philosophy that he can have anything or anybody he wants.
What would it take to make this a private pool right now?
I'm afraid I can't do that. It's a public pool and they're taxpayers, and I'd have a lot of problems with the mothers and fathers.
Listen, mister, I pay more taxes in a month than these people make in a year. Virgil, I think we can find something wrong with the pool today, don't you?
All right, everybody out. The chlorine level's too high. We're going to close the pool.
Well, let me give you a little history lesson. I've paid a little boy to dribble a basketball. I've paid people
to kiss my stinky, sweaty feet. I've paid people to bark like a dog. It's not a question if. It's just a question of how much.
That's ridiculous.
The next thing I know is I get this call from Vince McMahon, and I'm sitting in his office in Stamford, Connecticut.
Vince had a vision of having a wrestler call the $1 Million Man.
Vince had this idea in his head. And he had the idea for a while. He just had to find the right guy to portray it.
If Vince McMahon was going to be a wrestler, this is his gimmick. This is Vince's persona.
You'll be riding in limousine every night. You'll be throwing money at people. And Teddy was just laughing. He didn't believe this was happening. You know what I mean?
Kid, Vince had a stretch limousine for him. I think he sent him out to a show, sent him out to dinner, night on the town, and first class all the way.
Limos, hotels, Learjets, the whole 9 yards. And he told me, I never want you to crack a smile.
He knew how to be a bad guy. He knew how to talk. He knew how to do all the things that would make that character work. And all of a sudden, that one-dimensional character started growing, and it became very real.
This building brings back a lot of memories. This is where WrestleMania 4 took place, which was my first WrestleMania.
That was a pretty awesome WrestleMania.
For me, personally, this WrestleMania, I think was my finest hour. It was the highlight of the beginning of the $1 Million Man character. I mean, we started with the vignettes and all that stuff, and then at Market Square Arena, the twin referees.
I surrender the World Championship to Ted DiBiase. Wait a minute, hold on, Andre, what are you
Threw Hogan out of the title, and then they stripped me of the belt, and we're going to have WrestleMania 4, and it's a tournament. People go, have you ever wrestled at WrestleMania? Yeah, how would you like to wrestle at WrestleMania the first time, 3 times in one night? When I come here, and not only do I think of that, but I go all the way back to how this whole thing started. Taking that trip up to Stamford to the office. And so I went home and talked it over with your mom and made a call to Terry Funk. And Terry said, if Vince McMahon has an idea tailor-made for you, and it's his personal idea, you're a fool if you don't go. He laid it out there, the whole thing. Everybody hates a guy who, by virtue of his wealth, looks down his nose at people. And we're going to try to make the people believe that you're really rich. And I go, how are you going to do that? We're going to fly you everywhere first class. You're going to have limousine service every day. You're going to stay in first class hotels. All I have to remember is how old your brother is. Because Brett was born 11 days before WrestleMania 4.
So I was 5.
Yeah, 5 years old. Now, how was that for you?
I mean, it was a big deal. It was your first WrestleMania, and you were going to be in there with Savage and Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. It hasn't even hit me as a kid, because I'd grown up in it.
I didn't really, I didn't get on the big stage WrestleMania like in a huge domed stadium. How many people were at your WrestleMania?
74,000.
Okay, try 80,000 at Wembley Stadium. I got you beat, kid.
2 words. Marine 2.
Yeah.
3. Netflix.
3 words? Hall of Fame.
You got me.
Fish in a little pond to a shark in the ocean. And it happened overnight for him. To digress, Ted isn't one that could turn it off. Ted had to be the $1 Million Man in public.
When you're out there on that road and you don't have somebody to say, hey, Teddy, straighten your blankety blank act out. When you don't have somebody that's going to go ahead and tell you to keep your life straight, it's a tough road out there. And there's so many pitfalls out there.
You guys don't understand. It'd be like 8 hours on a plane. And, you know, what do you got? Well, all the booze you can drink. What, you got a movie or what? You know, I'm a little tired and drink myself to sleep or, you know, feeling a little antsy. I think I'll go out and get into a little bit of trouble and debauchery.
Wrestlers were never superstars before. And here you are, and you really are somebody.
There's a lot of opportunity on the road, yes. I mean, whatever you want. Women, drugs, booze, you know, got guy come up, give you an 8-ball of cocaine.
You'd fly into a city and there'd be a limo there to pick you up. You didn't ask for it. It was a fan. And he'd open, he said, no, you know, I better not go. He'd open the door to the limo, and there'd be 3 naked girls inside and a pile of cocaine. The next morning, you haven't slept. This guy drops you off at the airport. He's gonna go home and sleep for 2 days now. I have to go to another city.
Everybody in the bar would stop and turn, look, and go, who's that? He just had that aura. He had that presence. Now you add to that, he's got to be the $1 Million Man. He was a magnet. I mean, every beautiful woman in the place would come up and literally, in a lot of respects, throw themselves at him.
Because we all know everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man. WrestleMania 8 took place in Indianapolis, Indiana. And on that night after the big show, dressed in my tailor-made suit, sporting a gold Rolex watch, a big gold chain around my neck with a dollar sign, and a beautiful girl on each arm.
Taking care of the kids. We had soccer practices.
In my limousine, I go to all the hot spots in Indianapolis, all of the bars that are cool, the places to go to be seen.
Cooking, cleaning, and sat down to pay the bills.
I didn't go to bed that night. I partied into the wee hours.
And that was the first time that I was aware that there was anything amiss because I trusted Ted.
I had that limousine take me to the airport about 6 o'clock, caught an airplane to Detroit, Michigan.
When I found that out, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was late. I had lots to do, and so I didn't sleep much that night.
Checked into the Marriott Hotel.
When I discovered that Ted had been cheating in our marriage, I had to hold it together for my children. I didn't believe that they needed to be involved in that at this point. He was a good dad. I didn't want to destroy that. And being a mother is one of the things that is most important to me in the whole world.
And then I walked to a payphone in the lobby of that hotel to call home and check in with my wife. What a nice guy, right? No, what a jerk.
And then the next morning when Ted called,
I don't want to talk about those on the phone. I remember saying, I'll be on the next plane home.
I'm on a plane home.
In response to that, my wife said, no, you won't, because you don't live here.
My first reaction was, no, you don't live here anymore.
Click. My wife, who was totally committed to me, my wife who had born 2 children with me, my wife who had accepted my son from a previous marriage and loved him and raised him as her very own, my wife who never called me anywhere in the world to check up on me because she trusted me. That wife had now discovered that I was committing adultery. Help me.
Hey, big guy.
What's up, kiddo? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Love you.
Love you too. What's going on?
Hey, well, the old man's losing some weight.
You are, I was about to say, you've slimmed up, man.
Started at 340. I'm down to 3. So I've lost 40 pounds, 40 down, 40 to go.
Okay, so how much more do we need for...
Game weight?
Yeah.
40 pounds. I wrestled at 260.
So we can get you back in those tights?
Don't get any ideas.
You and I could make
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, like, well, you know, everybody's got a price. Yeah, WrestleMania, maybe the Battle Royal.
Well, yeah, we'll get on the DVD and, you know, the video game. That'd be good.
Are you hungry?
I'm starving. Do you have a...
You know me and the steaks. Steaks are on the grill.
All right,
Let's
mine
go.
better be big.
Hey, baby.
Hey, babe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
As you know, I've been kind of following the story.
Yeah.
And, you know, my dad is my hero. But what a lot of people don't know is the real hero. And that's you.
I'm not any more a hero than your dad.
Wow.
Or anyone else that turns to God in a crisis.
Yeah, I mean, we've never really talked about this, you know.
No, we haven't. Oh, you're old enough now. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. You've heard it. I mean, we've spoken in front of you. It was important to me at the time that y'all didn't have a disruption in your life.
And that's the thing, you know, people ask me all the time, you know, what was it like growing up the son of the $1 Million Man? But, you know, I've been asked, what was it like during that time period? They asked me how it was for Brett and I and Michael, and I said, I don't know. I didn't even know it happened. If you don't mind me asking, what was it like when you found out? Like, what was your reaction?
My reaction really, Teddy, wasn't any different than, you know, anybody else would be at that moment. You're absolutely in complete, it was a complete surprise. It was nothing expected. Then you have to process it. And that takes just a minute. And then you think, well, this is true. I was so hurt. Then that hurt turns to anger. Yeah. Then that anger turns to what's next. And one thing I'll tell you is that I knew that I loved your dad very much. I didn't want to have things work out in our marriage for the sake of y'all. In my prayers that night, just talking to the Lord, I said, my heart has just been broken beyond repair. And so if I'm going to get through this, you're going to have to give me a new heart. The thing that I came to realize when I was personally hurt so deeply is that there is no partiality with God. He does not care that my sin is small and your dad's sin is large. Now, I have large sins in my life.
We all do.
He doesn't care if I had been the best mother on the planet. It still wasn't going to keep me from being hurt or harmed. I just have to know that when I'm walking through those, I'm not walking through those alone. Really, there's no relationship that I can control on earth but mine. And it really is only my relationship with the Lord, and it's a choice. And so I had that choice of where do I go? When I couldn't go there alone, I called in reinforcement. And I called in people who knew this, who believed this. That was truly the saving grace for me at the time, to be able to wake up in the mornings and say, okay, boys, let's get ready. Here's your breakfast. What do you got to do today? I'll see you after school.
With a smile on your face.
And then when you left, I lost it. I mean, there were days in the beginning when I would take you to school and I would come home and I would get in the bed and just cry and be so angry. But I didn't do it alone. I didn't stay there. I just am thankful for those women, every one of them. You're working out your anger. You're working out your trust. You're working out all of the things that, that you go through just naturally.
Yeah, healing.
A healing process. And I'm not saying that it happened overnight, and it did not.
I think you've done a pretty good job of living what you believe.
Well, thank you. I have a long way to go. I do love the Lord, and I do try to make that first in my life.
And when it's all over, well, we'll just put on our finest and we'll go out on the town in that limousine, and all over Indianapolis, we'll have ourselves a real good time. Because everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Hey.
You okay?
Yeah. Yeah. You got a set? Yeah, I talked to Mom earlier, and, you know, I've always known. I know why you do what you do. I know the story, but it was interesting, you know, because I've never really heard from Mom herself. We've never had that conversation about, you know, what happened and how she felt and what you did to her. It was weird because it was the first time I felt angry. And this is out of love, Dad, you know that. But like how, when you have such a wonderful woman and a wife and a family
How
and
could I
children.
possibly do that to my wife?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I lived my life on the road. I was gone 300 nights a year or more. And the culture of wrestling back then, it's like, you know, you've heard me say this, and basically Jesus said it. He said, you know, the eye is the lamp of the body. He said, if your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? I lived so much of my life on the road with a bunch of guys, and again, I'm not casting blame. I take full responsibility, but I lived at a time in our business when it was normal, and it was like, and it was the escape. It was, you know, in anything that you do, any sin in your life, you rationalize. You rationalize it at the time. There was never a question. And Teddy, I want you to understand, there was never a question of how much I loved your mother. It was an escape. It was an ego thing. It was, and I look back from where I am now, and I go, I say the same thing. How could I possibly do something like that to the one person I love the most? You know, I was never in love with anybody else. I never, you know, it was all about the moment. And, you know, sometimes you can separate yourself like that, and you think, well, you know, this really isn't hurting anybody but me, and, you know, and what my family doesn't know won't hurt them. And you and I both know that that's a lie.
You know, I want to know, how did you feel when, like, the first time you saw Mom? You know, after she told you you didn't live there anymore.
I've never felt so empty in my life. In a moment in time, it's like all these things flash through your mind, and I saw her for all of the good that she is. It's so easy to take for granted the ones you love, and
so when you saw her the first time,
it was, Teddy, I was so ashamed I couldn't look at her. I could not look at her. I mean, I walked through that door at Hal's house, beaten, with my head down, sobbing. I could not look at her because of the guilt, because of the shame. I mean, that's the lowest I've ever felt in my life. I mean, it was like, and it really was a turning point, because I can remember saying to God, I don't ever want to feel like this again. I don't ever want to be this person again.
I know that one night he comes up to me and says, George, I got to go home. I said, why do you have to go home? You know, we got a show tonight. He said, I just got a phone call from my wife. She's heard about all my shenanigans and carrying on with the wild women and the drugs, the booze and all that stuff, and she's going to divorce me. He had tears coming down his eyes. I said, well, we'll take care of that. He said, I think she's changing the locks. I said, oh, we can't take care of that. You'll have to handle that, but we can get you home real quick.
And the next phone call that I made was to a guy who today is my closest friend. When I met Hal Santos, he was a youth minister. He walked up to me in a gym one day in Baton Rouge, and he introduced himself. He said he'd seen me on television wrestling, And he said, you know what, Ted, I just want to know one thing. I said, what's that, Pastor? He said, do you know Jesus Christ? Pastor Hal Santos committed to pray for me. And over the course of the next 12 years, every now and then I'd get a phone call from Pastor Hal. Hey, Ted, how you doing? What's going on? He never gave me the third degree about, are you going to church? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? What he did was he showed me unconditional love. Whenever I would come to St. Louis, he would come to see me. He'd just sit down and have a cup of coffee with me. And you know what? In my darkest hour, Pastor Hal was going to do everything he could to help me. He made arrangements for Melanie and I to fly to St. Louis. And I took the longest 30-minute ride of my life.
What's going on? Everything's good. See ya. How are you? Good. You had a long ride? Yeah. They take you all over the place and just come to St. Louis, huh? Yeah.
I said, Hal, what do I say? What do I do? What do I tell Melanie? He said, Ted, Jesus said, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Hal, you guys did such an incredible job of disguising that there was an actual problem. It hurts now, and I've had maybe one conversation with my dad just recently where, I had to ask why. Why would you risk it with such an amazing woman, the mother of your children? What was my mom's reaction?
I can remember taking your dad back to the hotel. He was making some calls from there that he shouldn't have been making. And of course, those are all recorded on the phone records that your mom had. And he said to me, Hal, everybody wants to meet me. And it became such a cold, distant stare. Everybody wants to meet me because I am the $1 Million Man.
That's right, and you can bet your bottom dollar that the victory celebration plans are well underway. And when the $1 Million Man throws a party, it's only the best. The finest wine, the finest champagne, caviar.
And there was just some kind of, the niceties, all that was all of a sudden became a wind of arrogance. So to answer the question why is that when we let our lives, no matter what it is, become so arrogant that it's about me, then life will change. Because really idolatry is who we make our God. And so we can become a little narcissistic and a little bit demigods of our own selves. And when I got back with him, I had a quiet moment with him. I said to him, Ted, we're friends, and I'm going to tell you the truth because I'm committed to the truth. But you better be careful because it seems like you're doing stuff without God.
Because the old saying stands right here, right now. The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Now you fast forwarded to the night of that call in March of '92. And then go to drop off Mom, go get your dad, and put him in the car. But when we're in the airport and we're picking up this gold briefcase thing and the Rolex watch and a whole thing, those in themselves were not evil or wrong. But what happened is it was this image that 2 weeks before was that everybody wants to meet me. Now we're in the airport and people were coming up wanting to meet him. And he didn't have enough emotional strength to even speak to anybody. He was hunched over, had these suitcases, and we rolled him out to the car. And it was a brokenness of what I have done to the most important people in my life. And I can't fix this. And so when your dad was saying, everybody wants to meet me because I'm the $1 Million Man, and then the trademark laugh, all it became now, the laughter was gone.
If I were to say that it doesn't hurt still when I think about what he did to my mom, it does.
And then after they went to a counselor, found a counselor there in your city, they would go to counseling while you guys were in school. It became something of if the counselor paced it, if the counselor paced it, that they should talk to you about it, then they would, if they agreed on it. And so it became a real strategy of healing, not fixing. I walked through a lot of stuff with your parents. Is it about Hal? No, it's about being available.
When could you tell that man had changed, that Ted DiBiase was a new man?
Your dad became changed when he became broken. Was he perfect? No, not by no means. But he was moving away from the old Ted.
I've said it 1,000 times now, but I'll tell you for the rest of my life, literally for the rest of my life, how grateful I am for you taking the time to mentor my dad, to actually care, genuinely reach out. If you wouldn't have done that, I don't know that I would be who I am today. An entire generation might be different. My family's stronger than they've ever been. My mom and dad love each other more than they've ever loved each other. I have amazing relationships with my brothers, and now I care more about being a dad and raising my son in a godly way, in a godly home, and being a spiritual leader.
How it all connects is really the grace of God. To think that God would use us to share the gospel with somebody. Him being famous doesn't give it another edge, it does give another point, but the point of the gospel is he accepts us who we are and the way we are. Because I was a kid at 15 and a guy came by and talked to me. A kid named Richard shared the gospel with me. And I accepted Christ at 15 and I haven't looked back.
Hey, baby. Hey. Yeah, I'm good. You know, Kyle's amazing. You know, he's just a great guy, you know.
I can remember being on my knees one time, crying out to God. This is before I really got right with him. And saying, God, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to do this again. You know, and I mean, literally walking out the door and going down, and sitting down in a restaurant in the hotel where I was, and then the devil takes that gal and puts her right there. And before the end of the day, you know, I've already gone back on the word I gave God. So it, you know, it's a sickness, I guess.
You got to push, Brett.
Yeah, you handle that?
I can handle it. Can you handle it coming off the road from seeing Hal?
I don't know.
How was your trip?
It was good. It was good. You know, Hal's amazing, but it was tough, man. Had some deep conversation with Hal. You know, I'll be honest with you. I've heard the whole time I was on the road. Of course, I heard stories about Dad from some of the veterans and the old timers, and you just hear it, how he was a partier, and some of the stuff, you hear stories, I'm like, man, I'm tired of reliving this. And then I get to Hal's, and you know, he basically tells me that the week before all of this went down with Mom, you know, he literally told Hal how much he loved the fact that people knew who he was, and you know, he loved being famous.
See, you know, well, let me stop you there, because what really frustrates me is, first of all, what you're saying is Hal saying that he put fame and being the $1 million man in front of you, in front of me, in front of Mom, in front of his marriage. And here you are flying to Hal's. You know, I've heard it from his testimony. I've heard it from Steve Kern. I've heard it from all his buddies about how Dad, you know, had a revolving door. And, you know, you get to hear it to your face from Hal. I've never had that. I've always heard it through other people or through his testimony. Am I going to have to initiate Dad coming and telling me sorry to my face? I mean, it's never happened. I know him and Mom are over it and they're through it, but dude.
Well, I confronted him about a week ago, and it's the first time, man. It's
Well,
the first time he told me my face, and I can call him. You want me?
Let's do this. Why don't you call him and just tell him that you want him to come over and have dinner and chat, and don't even tell him I'm coming. And I'm gonna put him on the spot.
Hey man, what's up?
Speaking of the visit with Hal, you know, I'm at the gym with Teddy today, Dad, and you know, I'm gonna get straight to it.
Brett.
Hold on.
Calm down.
You know, I'm at the gym. Teddy's telling me how you were at Hal's one time talking about how you loved fame and you loved how everybody just loved, you know, you loved the attention.
Brett.
Hold on. Let me get this out. You know, I hear from all the guys you wrestle with how you used to go out and party all the time. You know, your door was a revolving door and it was all, you know, and here we are at home and you cared more about that than you did Mom and us. And Dad, you've never said sorry to my face especially. And I don't know how you're sitting over there all calm. I've heard it in your testimony. I've heard it from all these places.
Brett. Please, look. Dad, I invited you over here, yes, because I wanted to visit, and me and Brett talked earlier at the gym. I wanted us all three to come together and have this conversation. You and I have already, we had a conversation, but
I understand.
Look.
You don't listen. You don't have to explain. And I understand.
I just want to hear you say sorry to my face.
Brett, I understand. Listen. Here's what you need to understand. If you want to know why you haven't heard this before, the first thing your mother said to me when we went head to head and all of this came out was, your children hold you on a pedestal and I don't want to destroy that. So until they are old enough to understand, and there comes a time when you can have that conversation with them, they don't know about it. That's the main reason. I've been speaking for a long time, and you've heard me from the platform, you've heard the testimony, you've heard the story. My feeling was this: as you've heard that, and as you've seen that your mom and I are very much in love with each other and very happy together, you know there's no conflict there, but I've always felt like the time would be right whenever you got to a place where you felt like, I need to hear this from Dad. And by the same token, why have I not just come right to you and said, let's have this conversation? Because it's like the conversation you never wanted to have. And I guess maybe hoping that when you heard it from the pulpit and you saw the sincerity in me and my life and who I am now, that maybe that would be enough, but I guess not. And it needs to be said. I came to a place where I was so caught up in the fame and where I was and what I was doing. I was traveling, I was on the road, I was gone most of the time. And it was almost like a man with two different personalities.
you know, we all have our own demons and our own vices. You and I both know we have our own stuff, Brett, and that we've dealt with, and it, you know, I love that we're finally having this talk.
Well, I said it to your mom, and I have to ask both of you boys, because I've never really said it. Will you forgive me?
Dad, I forgave you a long time ago. I mean, heck, I've spent my life trying to be just like you. I love you, man.
Love you. How much do you love me?
This much.
I love you this much. Do you know where Jesus lives? Where does he live?
In my heart.
In your heart. That's right, buddy. You know, I'll see you in the morning, okay? We'll get up in the morning, we'll play, okay?
Okay.
That's when Daddy came home. You're my favorite. I'll see you in the morning, okay?
My dad has always been my hero. It still is. And like me, he's made mistakes. And I'm old enough to realize now that we all do. We all make mistakes. But those of us that make mistakes, we don't really, we don't think about the, we don't think about the repercussions. We don't think about the people that are around us, that love us. We don't think about those that hold us on a pedestal. Our children that hold us on a pedestal. Our wives, our husbands that hold us on a pedestal.
Hello, Jenny. How you doing?
Good.
Very nice to see you.
See you, man.
Come on in.
I've been on this journey, following my dad's footsteps and really discovering the story and hearing it firsthand. And there was a different era back in y'all's era.
Oh, yeah.
And, but some of those decisions he made, the infidelity and the adultery, that led to almost my family being just ripped apart. And by the grace of God and literally, and my mother's love, and God-like forgiveness and mercy, we're as thriving of a family as ever, and our bond is stronger. And I didn't want to go through what he went through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also, train a child in the way they should go, and when they get old, they won't stray from it. So, I mean, and you were young enough that you still got a very good portion of the saved $1 Million Man, which I think makes a big difference.
Well, that saved me.
I have a couple moments with your dad, and came at very different times. The first moment, and it's from a pure wrestling sense, there was a time, your dad and I, we were sometimes in the same places on a fairly regular basis, whether it be out doing whatever. I was just frustrated, and he said, trust me when I tell you, talent will always rise to the top. It may take time, but it'll always rise. And it was true after I got saved. I wasn't even really sort of in the wrestling business at the time. And so I was sort of all alone by myself, sort of not floundering in a bad way, but not knowing it. I mean, this new experience had just happened to me. And for me, it was an moment. It was a huge moment. I mean, everything, I had a really, really bad, dark side and all of that stuff. But I mean, all of it lifted off me like that. And trying to make sense of that was very tough. And then I remembered, that's like that DiBiase, he got saved. And I'm thinking, I wonder if he can help me figure this out. And I hunted down your dad's number and gave him a call, because I didn't think there was any way these church people, it's like, sure, I get that all your sins are forgiven.
Right.
But you people don't understand what I've done. And one of the best things he said was like, you're not going to know this yet. He said, but look, I've learned this. You're going to find guys even in that church that have done some of the stuff we've done. He said, we think we're the only ones, but we're not. I went back being saved, and all of a sudden, for some reason, I'm the Christian. I'm the token Christian. If I cursed or whatever, I was like, it's not really happening.
Right.
You no longer can make mistakes. It's like, no, you don't understand. It's because I've made so many mistakes.
Right.
I'm just, that's the only thing that makes me a Christian now is that I've acknowledged and asked for forgiveness.
That's right.
Other than that, the wheels are still going to come off every now and then.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing the gospel brought me, which is truth.
Amen. It was hard for me at first because we never really had the talk. Like, never had the man on man, like, why the you do it?
The thing is, your dad is so not the same person he was.
No. Yeah.
You know what I mean? His salvation, much like mine, we don't even identify with the people we were. I mean, when we look at him, and it feels like an out-of-body experience.
Right.
And it's very hard for us to even get our head around, it doesn't even seem like it's us. That's why you just come back and you go, I'm sorry, I don't,
Yeah.
And you do. You ask people to forgive you, and you need it.
Yeah.
You need it from those people to be able to move on because now you can really feel.
You can move on. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, now you can really feel. I mean, that's the thing. That was the thing too. I guess there was a shell, man, a shell over that.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then salvation peels it off, and then it's like, I gotta say that I'm sorry, and I need to know that you truly believe that I am.
I've never really heard it that way. I mean, you can feel. You can, like, what was numb and what was just meaningless encounters or experiences and highs and lows, whatever they are, is just that's a different perspective. Because I see it in you, and I see it in my dad. I don't know that guy. Like I don't know whoever those guys were way back when. I know who my dad is today.
The thing I'm most proud of, though, is the man that my father has become. Man of character, man of principle, and a man of integrity.
It wouldn't matter to me one bit if anybody ever saw it, other than me, to hear my son say the things about me that you said about your dad.
Dad, we are so proud of you, and we love you so much. Thank you for everything you've done for us.
I just want my boy to look at me and say, and my daughter to look at me and say, oh man, you did us okay. And again, that's coming from a guy, I lost my dad this year, and I got to be there with him. I mean, my father's the first person I've ever seen die. As I told people, I watched him take his last breath here and his first breath in eternity. Ted DiBiase, the father, says, heard my boys express their love for me. You can't beat that.
Just had great conversation today. I just wanted to kind of make a point, something that I left with. We talking about our fathers. He shared a really personal experience that he had with his dad when he was there. He was there when he took his last breath, and it's just very emotional. Even on the way up, I was talking to my dad, and he's just so interested and engaged in what's going on in my life, and asking lots of questions, and certainly giving, still to this day, amazing fatherly advice. And never once do I talk to him and he doesn't tell me how proud he is and wants to just know everything. And I just realized that I've really taken that for granted. And for what it's worth, Dad, I'm sorry. If your parents are here, I don't know if your relationship's good or bad, but if they're here, they're here. And we just take for granted that they're here today, but they might not be tomorrow. And I just hope that I'll remember this, that from this day, that time with Sean, and seeing it in his face that, my dad's here today, and I'm so grateful. And as a dad, I want my son to be annoyed with how much I love him.
I certainly have to thank my wife. When you and I got married, you were 20 years old. I was almost 27. But then you waited 12 years for me to grow up. You persevered. You put up with a lot of garbage you didn't have to put up with. You forgave me for a lot, and you gave me a second chance. And I'll never forget you for it. You're my rock.
How do you find forgiveness? Forgiveness can only come if you're not in control of your heart. If I had been the only person in control of my heart, I would not be married today. And the one thing that kept me sane through all of this was my relationship with the Lord.
Certainly I must thank Almighty God, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
As his relationship with the Lord grew, mine kept growing, we came together. And at some point, then we were back together.
For if it weren't for his grace and mercy and love in my life, I don't believe I'd be here today.
You just have to forgive and let it go. The Bible says, forgive as God in Christ forgave you. I was forgiven when I made the decision to follow Christ. God forgave me of everything that I had ever done, everything that I ever would do. He did the same thing for Ted. And we are to forgive as God forgives. We can't pick and choose. Well, that hurt me really bad. I'm not going to forgive that. I did that to her. I can't forgive myself. Too bad, so sad. It doesn't work that way. You don't get to pick and choose. When you decide to follow Christ, you either do it or you don't.
And I'm sure I say this just about every church I speak in, but this is the last place. And I don't mean your church, I mean this place here, the pulpit. It's the last place that Ted DiBiase ever thought he would be. But God had a plan for my life. It just took me 38 years to begin to figure it out.
Anytime any athlete or any entertainer, anybody of in the public eye makes a grave error, normally in their personal life, and they turn to God or whatever their higher power is, and they become immersed in that, you're always going to have people that are going to say they're just trying to cover their...
I mean, I sat down and had lunch with him one time. He told me a story. I just didn't believe him any of it. I thought he was just, he got messed up, partying, was doing drugs and womanizing like we all were doing back in the day, and that his wife caught him and he was just trying to save his marriage because it cost him a lot of money and whatever. So I was like, whatever, Ted.
There's always going to be doubters, and that's just human nature. But I've learned something on my journey, man. Don't point the finger at the other guy. Take care of your own stuff. Clean up your own backyard. Don't worry about somebody else's.
For someone like me who traveled with him for so many years, to go see him and hook up with him, and the first thing he does is open up his briefcase and take out pictures of his family and put them all over the room in the hotel every night. It changed from let's go out and have a drink to, okay, let's go have dinner, and if we're gonna have a drink, well, let's just, you know, come back here and sit in the room. So he removed himself from that temptation at that time, and it was just different. It was a different Ted.
So I was really a wait and see guy. I was very skeptical, even you could say cynical, obviously. And over time, not knowing what by his fruits meant back then, I could see that Ted was definitely a different guy.
I think he's very sincere.
Ted was definitely a father figure in my life. He's the only person that I pretty much looked at as a father to me. The time that he spent with me in the hotel rooms or at his house, or part of his family, I mean, it goes beyond words what, you know, what that meant to me, especially me without a father. You know, my dad died, you know, when I was young, so it was pretty powerful.
Teddy was at this church, he was outside, and Teddy just basically told his testimony. And when he started, I thought, oh boy, here we go, it's a work again. It's not the real deal. This is just another phony using the Lord for his business. As Teddy talked, and he told a story that he had to get out of there, and I had been part of that. And the way he humbled himself, I started to realize that this was the real deal. This is really the real deal. In fact, he was so convincing to me that a couple, maybe 6 months to a year later, it opened me up for my walk with Jesus Christ. So it touched me. So Teddy's his acceptance of the Lord actually played a role in touching me through it. So, it's pretty personal when it gets that way.
I'm very thankful that Ted did that, because it really, I think, broke ground and some of our hearts as well. And I can't imagine what that was like walking through that in our industry.
The main thing that we're here for is the man of honor tonight. Give it up for Ted DiBiase, people. A lot of people know that a few years ago I tried to take my own life, and I'm doing really good now. But in one of the darkest hours of my life, Ted reached out to me, and he's always shown me love. He never judged me, and Ted, it just means the world to me that you're a friend of mine, and I love you very much, Ted, and thank you so much. Thank you. God is great.
My mom is amazing. She's an angel, and I don't know that I would have the strength to do that, but I also know even more so now the man that he is, and I can tell you that a lot of people. I saw Wilcox, that little town. I know my dad's been working since he was 6 years old, every day. He still works today. He hadn't stopped. I can't tell you the last time. I don't know. I don't know the last time my dad ever spent a dime on himself. He is a servant of the Lord. And that's my dad. He made a mistake. We all do. This journey and learning about this, it's given me just the admiration I already had, but now understanding just the pain that you've gone through being away and then going through that and then literally living a selfless life. That's the kind of dad I want to be to my son. And following your footsteps again, like I wanted to be a wrestler. Now I want to be that kind of dad. And I want my son to be proud of me because of the man that I've become, the character and integrity that I exemplify. And the only reason I want that and desire that is because that's the man you became. Because you said, less of me, God, more of you. I know you almost lost it, but you built it even stronger. And you took advantage of that. I just want to tell you, thank you. And I love you. Love you too.
I'm a wrestler.
You're a wrestler? Ah! Hey, what wrestler are you?
DiBiase.
Ooh. Are you the romper stomper?
I am a robber stopper. I am a robber and a stopper.
I think Ted's initial catchphrase, "Everybody has a price," opens up an interesting box. I think it goes back to the days of the Faustian bargain. What would you be willing to do to live that life? And in a lot of cases, people pay too much. The price of fame is too costly. Comes at the expense of your family, your relationships, your health. So it's something I deal with every day. So I think it's a good question to ask. And there are some days when I tackle a flight of stairs and think to myself, was it really worth it? Some days when I get a headache from 5 minutes of bright lights and think, was it really worth it? And I think Ted has asked himself that question many times over the years as well. I think that's why his testimony is so valuable, because I think pre-testimony, Ted's answer to me, no, wasn't worth the price of fame. And post-testimony, I think the answer is absolutely it was worth it, that he's doing something bigger than the business.
Yep, that's my dad. Who loved to lace up his boots, who loved the roar of the crowd, who battled with giants and titans that were larger than life. Yep, that's my dad. Who said, everybody's got a price. And when it came to fame, he learned that, well, it's true.
You know, Dad, it's been a long time since my last visit, but I always come back, and I'll keep coming back. I was only 15 years old when I came out here way back when, feeling lost, not knowing what was going to happen to me, watching Mom drink herself into oblivion, and I came here for your help, to help remember the things that you taught me and instilled in me. And you know, Dad, I did pretty good at first. I got that scholarship. I went to college. I didn't smoke and drink and go crazy. But when I got to college, I let it creep into my life, all those things that you warned me about. And the truth is, it controlled me for nearly 20 years. You didn't want me to be a wrestler, but I had to be just like you. And God blessed me with Melanie. God blessed us with children. But I came out here tonight just like I did so many times before, to let you know I finally got it right. I finally got it right, Dad. And all I ever wanted when I was 15 years old was to make you proud. And now I think that I have. I think that you would be. It's been so long, but it seems like yesterday when I come here. And I miss you. I miss you very much. But I'll see you again. I have 3 good boys. They're good boys. And I've tried to instill in them the same things that you instilled in me. Rocky road sometimes, you know, they got it, Dad. They got it a lot faster than I did. And I'm a grandfather now. Yeah, you're a great grandfather. I just wish that you would have the opportunity to meet you. I'm gonna keep going, I promise. I'm gonna keep living right, and I'm gonna keep living for God. I hope you're proud of me, Dad. And I love you very much.
And yes, that's my dad. That after all of this, he left his dream, the only thing that he knew how to do for his family. I know this is where you came and talked to your dad, and but you know, I'm so blessed that I have you here to talk to. And I'm so grateful for the things that you have taught me over the years, and to dream big and go for it, and never let anybody tell me I couldn't do it. But with whatever I did, to put character and integrity before everything. And
this is where it started for me.
And if those walls could talk, and if Mike was standing right here, I know exactly what he would say. He'd say, "Good job, son. You did good."
I love you.
Love you too, man.
I just wish that you'd have been able to meet him and know him.
Me too.
I came here for a lot of reasons. When I was in turmoil, when I was watching my mom drink and not knowing what to do and going, Dad, what do I do? What would you have done? But I found peace here too. God met me here. God comforted me here.
Yep, that's my dad. That taught me to be a man of character and integrity. Yep, that's my dad. Who taught me how to be a loving husband. But probably most importantly, how to be a good father.